This is Defenders TV Podcast, but it's not a numbered episode. This is our Marvel movies preview for 2018.
I hear a lot of people saying the blues, but I'm gonna tell you what the blues is. When you ain't got no money, you got the blues. When you ain't got no money.
Welcome back, fellow Defenders. In a slight surprise, we're not doing our finale for The Punisher this week. Unfortunately, one of our hosts, Chris, is pretty sick at the moment and can't join us for this episode. Really sorry that we can't provide our 13th episode for The Punisher review. We've all seen it and we've all really enjoyed it, but we will be doing that next week when Chris is back on form. Thought it was a little bit unfair to him because we lost his recording last week, so we couldn't have him on episode 12. And if we didn't give him the opportunity to speak about the final episode of the Punisher series, which he's really been enjoying for the last few episodes, I think it would be a bit unfair. I'm one of your hosts, Derek.
Hello, fellow Defenders. I'm one of your other hosts, John. Yes, it would have been grossly unfair of us. It's taken us a while anyway to get to the 13th episode, taking it 1 week at a time. But, hopefully that digestible pace has been good. And so there's just one more week. And then, of course, it will be into Black Panther, which is one of our movies that we're going to preview for Marvel's movies in 2018.
And as a suggestion from one of our listeners, I've also set up a Marvel Movies on Defenders TV podcast feed over on iTunes. So if you just want to listen to the movie reviews, if you're not too interested in our episode-by-episode discussions of the TV shows, we've also reviewed about 15 movies so far over in our Marvel Movies on Defenders TV podcast. So pop over there on iTunes, look for Marvel Movies on Defenders TV podcast. You should see it pop up there for you. And then you can just listen to all of our reviews of everything right the way up to Thor Ragnarok, I think was the last one, which just happened the week before Punisher came out, right? So,
yeah.
We went straight from that one, and now we're going to be going into Black Panther.
Yeah, absolutely. In February. Yeah, however you want to digest Defenders TV podcast, please head on over and subscribe, leave a review, or share your thoughts and give us some feedback. All comments welcome.
Absolutely.
Please head on over to our website at defenderstvpodcast.com and go to our subscribe section where you can join your podcast catcher of choice, iTunes, Google Play, or any other Android podcast catcher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as John said, if you want to join us over in our Facebook group, you can join us at facebook.com/groups/Defenders TV podcast, or send in any of your thoughts about the future movies coming up this year to feedback@defenderstvpodcast.com. I think we should get into this. It's really kind of interesting, isn't it, John, that we normally do a 5-point structure, and guess what? There are 5 movies coming from Marvel this year, with the Disney and Fox joining up, kind of, sort of, going to be going through pretty soon. It means that all of these movies are effectively Marvel movies.
Yeah, excellent.
So do we call these the Disney Marvel movies?
No, we don't.
Okay. Well, we just have the MCU movies. They're the ones that are all connected together, and then we have a few other outliers that are not technically connected just yet. Let's go through them quickly. We've got Black Panther coming up. We've got AntMan and the Wasp, Avengers Infinity War, Deadpool 2, and Venom later on this year. I think Venom's come as a bit of a surprise, John.
Yeah, but that's Sony, isn't it?
Yes, Sony, but as was Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yes.
So, but let's go through them. So first up, Black Panther. It had its premiere in LA this week, as we're recording. Seems to have gone down really, really well with the audience.
The first reactions seem to be pretty positive. And I mean, even from the trailers, this looks incredibly lush. The look of Wakanda really does hit you in the face, and is bold, it's colourful, and it's pretty full on. I'm really interested to see how the Black Panther gets a foothold in the Marvel movies, because I'm really hoping it's an instant classic. We already know it probably ties into one of our other movies, the Infinity War. We've seen a bunch of Avengers running through the plains of Wakanda as well. But this looks so colourful and really, really lush. So I absolutely cannot wait to watch this. In fact, I would argue that this is the Marvel movie that I am most excited about for 2018.
Oh, wow, interesting. Yeah, the last time we saw Black Panther was in Captain America Civil War. And I know everybody came away talking about Spider-Man from that movie because that was the first appearance of him, but it was also the first appearance of Black Panther, and Chadwick Boseman knocked it out of the park in that movie. We couldn't stop talking about it on our review podcast, and he really did stand out as a really interesting character. So it's been a little while since we've seen him on screen, but he's now surrounded by a huge cast of fantastic actors that are in this movie. I was amazed at the amount of people they got in here. We got Letitia Wright in there, got Oscar-nominated Daniel Kaluuya in there, T-Leaf from...
Absolutely, T-Leaf from Psychoville.
Yes.
You've got Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman as well coming back. Andy Serkis obviously as Claw.
Yes.
And Martin Freeman as Everett Ross.
Yeah, and the other big one for me is Denai Guerrera from Walking Dead, who plays Michonne, who's still my favourite character over in The Walking Dead. Yeah. Really looking forward to seeing these guys in the movie. One of the things that I saw in the kind of general social media roundup stuff that I saw after the premiere was that Letitia Wright, who plays Shuri, Black Panther's sister, is a standout in this film. She's really given half of the movie to carry, effectively. So I'm really excited to see that. We've seen one clip of the movie where the two of them are working together to get away from the bad guys or chase down the bad guys, and it was really cool to see the two of those actors working together.
Definitely. And of course, let's not forget Michael B. Jordan, who is playing Eric Killmonger.
Yes.
Like a fishmonger, but a killer monger.
I wonder, is he any relation to Kilgrave?
No.
Did he get his name in the same way that Kilgrave did?
Who knows, but he is the pretender to the throne of Wakanda. I'm really interested to see how his character injects some challenge to Black Panther and to the royalty of Wakanda, because this is very much a royalty-led movie, but with massive sci-fi tech as well. So it looked really interesting from that. And of course, this will be the second time when we review Black Panther, sometime shortly after the 15th of February, where we will have reviewed Michael B. Jordan. He was on the Fantastic Four movie, and I am almost sure, even though I had high hopes for the Fantastic Four movie at the time, it looked dark, it looked brooding, I kind of liked that idea. Unfortunately, the execution maybe just wasn't there for me. I am sure that this ultimately will receive a better review from Defenders TV podcast than Fantastic Four, but let's wait and see. There are no promises.
We always go in very positive to our movie reviews. Fantastic was unfortunately a bit of a mess, but it was nothing on the cast. I think we were at pains to point out that we really enjoyed all of the cast and the roles. Michael B. Jordan has worked previously with Ryan Coogler, the director of this movie, on Creed, which I really enjoyed. A great boxing movie, actually. If you're into boxing movies, go watch that.
Really good. And I love, actually, Michael B. Jordan's character, Eric, just the kind of the stippled effect on his skin, which actually does go back to techniques used in Africa for decorating the body. So really interesting. It looks very menacing. And of course, everyone is as buffed as they can be for this. The Marvel movie abs are out in force, judging by the teaser trailers.
Yes. Yeah, really looking forward to this one. The other piece of social media that I saw was, of course, from Chio Hodari Coker, who's the showrunner for Luke Cage, saying this was absolutely brilliant. He really, really enjoyed the movie. And the big thing that stood out to him was the music, that it was chosen really well. High praise after his Luke Cage coverage, really.
Definitely.
One final note on this, because I haven't read it yet. I was holding off until after we did our preview so I didn't spoil anything, but there is a preview comic that's been released for Black Panther, The Road to Black Panther, just 2 issues, a prelude comic that they usually do in Marvel. They usually just recap a previous movie. In this one, it's a standalone story, so I'm going to be checking that out straight after the podcast.
Yeah, me too. I think our second movie that we're really looking forward to seeing is Ant-Man and the Wasp, the follow-up to Ant-Man, the movie, 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
And yeah, this is coming out around July 15th this year. We had the teaser trailer out this week. And yeah, again, starring Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp. Michael Douglas is back as Hank Pym, and there is Michael Pena as well back as the funny sidekick.
Yes,
too,
Michael
Paul
Pena.
Rudd.
Yeah, he really did add so much to Ant-Man. Paul Rudd is someone that I've always enjoyed. I've always found him very funny, but Michael Pena really added a different flavour to the humour that was on show in Ant-Man. So really excited to see that. Loads of people telling us that the way they should have done the trailer for Ant-Man 2 is just had Michael Pena describe what's going to happen.
Definitely. Because I mean, we are seeing massive sweet dispensers. We are seeing buildings being shrunk down to a carry-on case, which I would absolutely love. I love the way the pigeon just flew off. Evangelina Lilly's character, the Wasp, has a better suit. It's got blasters. She has wings. And I think there is a little bit of miniature jealousy from Scott Lang. I think he wants those features for his own suit, but we look at him going small and tiny, teeny tiny, and he is going big again like he did in Civil War.
Giant.
So yeah, it looks really good, and it looks like he's probably going to keep that sense of humor running through it like the first movie did as well, and I think that's really really nice to see. I'm slightly intrigued to see whether maybe Doctor Strange comes into Ant-Man 2. I suspect not.
I don't think so. We
But
might...
with the microverse, I was just wondering. But
maybe, yeah. There's a very small clip of that in the short teaser trailer that came out this week. There's a tiny little moment of the microverse, so we know we're going over there.
Really tiny,
really teeny tiny. Yes, I know.
Ant-Man
Sorry.
tiny.
We also know we're going to be seeing the mother of Hope Van Dyne, played by Evangeline Lilly. We're going to see Janet Van Dyne this time, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, one of my absolute favourite actresses. So really excited to see her in the movie. Nothing in the trailer over this time.
No, and of course we got a very small glimpse of our villain of this piece, Ghost, in the trailer as well.
Yeah, very interesting. Looked like something in a Mass Effect. The design for that character as well. It'd be interesting to see that. And Lawrence Fishburne has jumped over the border between DC movies and over into Marvel movies after Batman v Superman, where he played Perry White. He's going to be coming over and playing Dr. Bill Foster. Not going to tell you who else that is if you don't know the comic books, because it's quite a big character and quite intriguing to see how he brings it in. One other member of cast that really excites me is Randall Park, because he's going to be playing Jimmy Woo, who's one of the original members of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So right back in the 60s, he was right alongside Nick Fury. So we have Jimmy Woo finally coming to the movies.
Yes, and of course, in good IMDb fashion, Vanessa Ross is playing the hot jogger, whoever that may be. A new superhero, maybe, of our time.
Interestingly enough, IMDb do list a lot of extra cast members that are coming up in the movie. But really looking forward to Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's going to be a fun movie to come up. We did skip over one film that's coming up this year, which is probably the biggest movie that Marvel have ever done.
Yes, from small to the big daddy of them all, we have Avengers Infinity War, which is out 25th of April this year.
Yes, and what makes this so gigantic is it's basically every single character that's been in a Marvel movie before will be appearing in this movie. How are they going to pull all these guys together? It's going to be fascinating. Like it's effectively Guardians of the Galaxy meets the Avengers, which includes all of the other people, plus Doctor Strange, because he hasn't been an Avenger yet, and then Spider-Man as well is going to appear in there. So we've got everybody.
Yeah, plus obviously Thanos as the bad guy and all his legion of minions.
Yes. How are you feeling about Thanos now? We haven't really talked about the trailer.
The trailer actually made me want to see Thanos now. He wasn't sat on his throne in all his hilariously sort of liquid gold stuff. I mean, he looked like just obnoxious and ridiculous on that throne. And I must say, I was not looking forward to Thanos as a big bad. But from this movie where he's kind of pared back from his regalia, he looks really good. He felt more big, threatening. It's Thanos goes to war, ultimately. And I really got a sense that I was going to enjoy Thanos just from the trailer. So I'm really hoping that is what happens in this movie for me. And certainly, you know, with seeing Vision under a lot of distress in the teaser trailer. So, you know, there are some real implications and threats to the Avengers in this movie. It does look as though New York will suffer from an event Mark II here, another big ship coming from the sky. So that's kind of interesting, see how that pans out. But it does seem that it will go more global as well, as we do see the opposing armies clashing on the luscious plains of Wakanda.
Yeah, I actually hazard a guess it's going to go galactic, since we know the Guardians are going to be in this movie.
Well, that's true.
And they meet up with Thor, so that's going to be an interesting idea. It kind of makes sense now that they changed the tone of Thor Ragnarok to be a comedy, now that they're going to be meeting the other comedic characters in the universe, which are the Guardians of the Galaxy. So be quite interesting to see those two working together. We saw both of their movies last year, so they're kind of coming back very fresh from those movies straight into Infinity War. But it's going to be fascinating. This is kind of a two-parter, was the original plan, but I think as it just being filmed as two separate films, as being filmed all at the same time to make sure they keep all the cast together. So not sure if it's Infinity War 1 and then followed by Infinity War 2, or whether it's Infinity War and then a completely different title for the second movie. Be interesting to see what happens. This obviously is the 10th anniversary of the release of Iron Man, happens later on this year. So quite interesting that they've kind of had this moment where they're going to get everybody together, have all of this cast that's been around for such a long time in these movies. This is the one that is worrying, I suppose. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm sure the team behind Captain America Civil War are bringing the same sense of fun to the movies, but I do feel we may be losing some major members of cast this year. I think a lot of people believe that. Yeah,
definitely. And it'll be interesting with regards to the time gem, what happens. Will Doctor Strange turn back time? If you could turn back time, it would be really interesting. And of course,
get me singing, Cher.
And of course, for me, I'm really excited to see Doctor Strange back on the big screen. Mm-hmm. We do see Doctor Strange there with Tony Stark at the Sanctum Sanctorum. It'd be really interesting to see, and I really hope that Spider-Man and Doctor Strange have their moment together as well. These two have a long-standing classic hookup in the comics, working together to bring down evil, as well as in the Marvel animated series going right back to the 80s as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm really hoping that they use that relationship, obviously, as they're both Steve Ditko creations, two iconic characters. So I think that would be a really nice little wink, wink, nudge, nudge to their creators.
I like seeing a teenage boy looking at a man that can do magic and create traveling portals and turn back time. Like, it's perfect. You have to have that moment. Like we saw Doctor Strange in Thor, obviously, as we made that part of our Summer of Strange series for absolutely no reason. But it was really fun seeing him interact with a person that's calling themselves a god and a god of mischief and a god of thunder. Seeing Doctor Strange interact with those characters made it a bit more interesting and deeper in the Marvel universe. And now if he gets to interact with the street level heroes, maybe if he gets to interact with possibly some of our defenders popping over into the movie, that would be pretty cool. Maybe Matt Murdock's walking past the Sanctum Sanctorum and gets called in one day, by Doctor Strange. But even if it's not that, even if it's just him interacting with our teenager here, Spider-Man, that would be quite cool.
Yeah, definitely.
And that movie's coming out in April, isn't it? April 25th, I think. Yeah. So again, that's coming really soon. Really looking forward to that. That's the big one, really. Obviously, that's the one that everything's been building up to. I'm at the moment really excited about Black Panther, but I can't escape the fact that we're going to see all of those characters again just over a couple of months later.
Yeah, I think Infinity War is absolutely right behind Black Panther for me. But I think from the ultimate cool of Infinity War to the ultimate Deadpool 2, our fourth movie for 2018.
I've got an even better connection than that one, John. Thanos is played by Josh Brolin in Avengers Infinity War, and he is the new cast member announced for Deadpool 2. He's playing Cable. I say new, he was announced back in November, and we did mention it on the podcast before, but quite interesting that he's going to be in two different Marvel movies with two different studios within about a month of each other.
Exactly, and if Deadpool 2 really plays up the humor, the sarcastic, the dark humor that they had in the first movie, you could really see Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool turning around to him saying, weren't you in another movie playing another villain? Mm-hmm. You could really see that, and I think that would be really funny. It's out around May 18th this year, and but this time with a new director, David Leitch, who part directed John Wick. Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see how that transition from the previous director, where it was such a passion project for him, along with Ryan Reynolds, how the tone maybe is maintained or changes for better. Hopefully it really stays on form, because the first Deadpool, I think, just was so good. Everyone really was glad to see the chimichanga coming out onto the movie screen in such a faithful fashion. So really excited to see Deadpool 2.
Absolutely. I know, Chris, that's probably his big movie of the year.
Chimichangas.
Is obviously Deadpool, one of his favourite characters, as we talked about previously on the podcast. But yeah, I'm kind of concerned about this one. It's gone through a bit of trouble, but Deadpool, the first one, did go through many, many years with Ryan Reynolds trying to get it made, along with his director partner, who was trying to push the movie. It just feels like it was such a passion project at the time for them. Will the studio be interfering now that it's somebody else in the director's chair? David Leitch, while he isn't credited as director for John Wick, when you look at the credits on IMDb, he has now been given credit because he directed most of the action scenes. He comes from a stunt background, so I'm expecting this to be very high octane, lots of big action sequences in the movie, and there were loads in Deadpool. So, you'd expect a bit more of that, and hopefully Ryan Reynolds, who is the improv king, really. He pretty much did all of the marketing for Deadpool. That was all of his sense of humour. So hopefully he'll be able to bring that kind of sense of humour back. And I'm hoping for a Jonah Hex reference with Joss Brolin as well, because this is now his third big character, even though Jonah Hex is one of the worst comic book movies made. But I'm hoping for a little reference to that as well.
Yes.
On to our fifth and final movie coming from Marvel this year. As I said earlier on, a little bit of a surprise that this is coming out so soon, because it feels like it was only announced about 2 months ago. This is intended to arrive on October 5th, 2018, with Tom Hardy in the title role of Eddie Brock. It's Venom. Is this a sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming? Is it in the same universe? It's done by Sony Studios, so will we be seeing Spider-Man, Peter Parker, turn up for his third movie in just over a year?
That would be really cool, if you had that. I mean, this is really intriguing. Is it going to be Venom without Spider-Man? Or will Spider-Man come into it? I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens here. And if Spider-Man does, it has to be Tom Holland, surely. Yeah. So this would be really, really exciting. I mean, they say Tom Holland can't really keep secrets. That's the running gag over at Marvel. Yep. But if he is showing up in Venom, he is keeping one awesome secret. So let's hope that he's in there, maybe in part, but it would be good to focus on Venom. And it'd be really interesting to see Tom Hardy playing this character and Eddie Brock. He's also joined by Michelle Williams, so, Oscar winner there. And you have Riz Ahmed, who was from Rogue One.
Yes. He was fantastic in Rogue One. I remember hearing an interview with him about his process, saying that he did something like about 100 takes of his character in Rogue One to get the part, even though he had it after about take number 10. He just continually did various changes to his character to see if he could fit into this role of the pilot back in Rogue One. Really excited to see this cast. It already feels one of those movies when you get this number of high-profile actors attached to roles in the movie, you kind of get a feeling for what the kind of movie they're going to be going for. Venom can be a very cartoony character. In the past, he's played just the villain. There are comic books where he's the hero, going after other bad guys. There's comic books where he's controlled and being sent after other people, where he uses his powers for good, effectively. So I'm intrigued to how they do it. Tom Hardy is very much known for doing very complex characters, even in simple films that he's done. He plays very complex characters. So I'm really intrigued to see him come back into the comic book universe. Remember, he was Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, so he was a really complex character in there. So complex that some people couldn't understand his accent. But I assume that's not going to be a problem with Venom.
Who knows? I love Tom Hardy. For me, can literally do no wrong. His recent television series on the BBC was excellent. He obviously was in Dunkirk there recently, again sounding like Bane.
Completely masked for the whole film. Yeah. But I swear there's something between him and Chris Nolan where Chris Nolan just goes, "I know you're pretty. I know you've got this really big female following, really big male following, but I'm not going to show your face to the audience. That's going to be a little running gag between them."
Yeah, he read a book on Jackanory on the BBC there with his dog. So, yeah, I mean, what's not to like about Tom Hardy? And the thing is, he's got the acting chops for it. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see how Eddie Brock and Venom is brought to life by, this really good actor. And who's joined by equally strong supporting actors as well in the form of Michelle Williams and Riz Ahmed.
Absolutely. Jack and Ori was a bit of a flashback there, John. I think it's called Stories at Bedtime now, or Tales at Bedtime.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
That
Sorry.
might be going right back to our childhood there. But a very similar thing.
Yes, I think I'm showing my age there.
Yes. Chris Evans has been on it a couple of times as well.
He has?
Yeah, it's got a good lineup of people as well. Anyway, that is our 5 movies coming up this year. Obviously, we also have a couple of TV shows that we'll be talking about. We'll be back next week with, obviously, our final episode of Punisher. Hopefully, Chris is feeling better. Hopefully, this cheered him up while he's lying in bed, waiting to get well, just to hold him over until he gets back with us next week. But we'll obviously be coming back with Jessica Jones then in March. We have Luke Cage season 2 coming up later on this year. Hopefully, we haven't got a date for that yet, but I believe it's pretty much ready to go out of the gate. So hopefully, we'll be seeing that towards the end of the year as well.
Yes. So thank you so much for listening as always, and we will be back with our 13th episode on The Punisher, the finale, Memento Mori, next Friday, 9th of February. So we will speak with you again then.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
I hear a lot of people saying the blues, but I'm gonna tell you what the blues is. When you ain't got no money, you got the blues.